want you to picture something. A man sitting across from me in my clinic in Houston about 6 years ago. His name was George, 71 years old, retired mechanic, spent his whole life working with his hands. Strong guy. But when he walked into my office that afternoon, he looked like he'd been carrying the world on his shoulders. George had been living with type 2 diabetes for over a decade, and somewhere along the way, he'd gotten it into his head that vegetables were the enemy. Not all of them, but most of them. Carrots? Too sweet. Tomatoes? Too much sugar. Corn? Forget about it. He'd stripped his diet down to basically grilled chicken, plain lettuce, and water. And you know what? His blood sugar was still all over the place. His energy was gone. He told me, "Doc, I've given up everything I enjoy eating, and I'm still getting worse. What's the point?" That question hit me hard. Because George isn't alone. I've heard that same frustration from hundreds of men just like him. Guys who've been told to fear their food, who've turned every meal into a math problem, and who've ended up miserable and no healthier for it. Here's the truth, and I want you to hear this clearly. The problem was never the vegetables. The problem was the approach, and that's exactly what we're going to fix today. I'm Dr. Isabella Norris. I've spent over 15 years in preventive medicine and metabolic health, working with patients across Texas, from downtown Houston clinics to rural health centers out in East Texas. I've sat with thousands of men, mostly older guys, who are fighting diabetes every single day. And what I've learned is this: you don't need a punishment diet. You don't need to give up everything that makes eating enjoyable. What you need is the right information, delivered straight, no fluff, so you can make smart choices and actually see results. So today, I'm going to walk you through 10 vegetables that can genuinely help you manage your blood sugar. We're going from number 10 all the way to number 1, and I'll tell you right now, the vegetable in the top spot has been shown in clinical research to lower fasting glucose by about 10%. That's comparable to some prescription medications, and it's sitting right there in your grocery store produce aisle. But before we get into it, I also need to give you a heads up. There are 5 common vegetables that, while nutritious, can actually work against you if you eat them the wrong way or in the wrong amounts. I'll cover those at the end because that warning alone could save you weeks of frustration. Let's get into it. Number 10, cucumber. I know. Cucumber sounds boring. It's the thing you throw into a salad without thinking about it. But for a man with diabetes, cucumber is doing a lot more than adding crunch. It's about 95% water, and that matters because when your blood sugar runs high, your body tries to flush out the excess glucose through urine. That pulls fluid out of you fast. That constant thirst, the dry mouth, the rough skin, a lot of that comes from chronic dehydration that high glucose causes. Cucumber helps you stay hydrated, but it also contains compounds called cucurbitacins and lignans that slow down carbohydrate digestion and take some of the pressure off your pancreas. I had a patient named Tom, 66, down in Galveston. Every time he ate rice or bread, he'd get these palpitations and this wave of heat through his chest. Scared him half to death every time. I suggested something simple. Add cucumber slices to every meal. Within a couple weeks, that heat and that post-meal crash started fading. He looked at me and said, "Doc, you're telling me a cucumber did that?" "Yeah, Tom, it did. Because cucumber isn't just water. It's a green medicine disguised as a cheap snack." Number 9, arugula. Now some of you might be thinking, what in the world is arugula? Fair question. It's that peppery, slightly bitter green you see in fancy salad mixes at the store. Some folks call it rocket. It's gotten more popular in recent years, but a lot of guys still skip right past it. Here's why you shouldn't. Arugula is loaded with vitamin K, which isn't just important for bone strength, although that matters plenty when you're dealing with diabetes. Vitamin K is directly linked to insulin sensitivity. Studies have shown that people who are low in vitamin K tend to have worse blood sugar control and higher insulin resistance. But there is more. Arugula contains natural nitrates that your body converts into nitric oxide. Think of nitric oxide as a traffic cop for your blood vessels. It opens them up, reduces pressure on your heart, and helps protect your brain from stroke. For a guy managing diabetes and high blood pressure at the same time, that's a big deal. I had a patient, Frank, 70 years old, up in Dallas. His after-dinner glucose spikes were out of control despite medication. We added arugula into his evening salads with some tomato, avocado, and a drizzle of olive oil. Within a month, his post-meal numbers improved noticeably and his blood pressure stabilized too. Just mix it with a little cheese, some walnuts, and cherry tomatoes. You've got yourself a plate that tastes good and fights diabetes at the same time. Number 8. Red cabbage. Most guys see red cabbage and think coleslaw at a barbecue. But that deep purple color comes from anthocyanins, and those are some of the most powerful anti-diabetes compounds found in nature. Anthocyanins act like an antioxidant shield. They reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and protect your blood vessels from the damage that high glucose causes over time. I treated a man named James, 72, out in East Texas. He had constant pain in his legs from diabetic neuropathy, couldn't walk more than a few yards without tingling and cramping. I suggested he start adding red cabbage to his stews and salads 3 times a week. 3 months later, he came back walking without his cane, said the stabbing pains in his legs had eased up considerably. Red cabbage didn't magically cure his neuropathy, but it reduced the inflammation and improved his circulation enough to give him back his quality of life. On top of the anthocyanins, red cabbage is rich in vitamin C and vitamin K. It's cheap, versatile, and you can eat it raw in salads, cooked in soups, or fermented as sauerkraut, which also adds beneficial probiotics. Number 7. Cauliflower. You've probably seen cauliflower rice and cauliflower mash popping up everywhere. Beyond the trend, cauliflower has serious science behind it. Its fiber content is high, which slows glucose absorption and prevents those sharp spikes after meals. But what really interests me is its choline content. Choline is a nutrient almost nobody talks about. It plays a role in insulin production and fat metabolism in the liver. A lot of diabetic men develop fatty liver disease, which makes blood sugar control even harder. Cauliflower, by providing choline, helps prevent and even reverse that problem. Bill, 65, here in Houston, swapped out his mashed potatoes for cauliflower mash with a little garlic and olive oil. He not only liked the taste better than he expected, but that heavy drowsiness he'd been feeling after meals for years just disappeared. Cauliflower also contains glucosinolates, compounds that help your liver detoxify and reduce systemic inflammation. Your body processes nutrients better, your glucose stays more stable, and your organs work under less stress. Now, I want to pause here for a second. When I share these first 4 options with my patients, pepino, arugula, red cabbage, and cauliflower, the reaction is almost always the same. Seriously, doc? Something this simple can make a difference? And I smile because yes, it can. After a few weeks, they notice more energy, less thirst, better digestion, fewer cramps. The key was never expensive supplements or miracle pills. It was these humble vegetables that were right there all along. Let me say this before we move on. Food doesn't have to be exotic or expensive to be effective. Sometimes the real medicine is in the everyday stuff we've been taking for granted. The key is learning to look at it differently and making it a consistent part of your routine. Number 6. Tomato. Every time I mention to my patients that the tomato is a powerful ally against diabetes, I get the same look. Doc, isn't the tomato just for salsa? And I always smile. The tomato is way more than a side dish. First off, tomatoes have a low glycemic index, meaning they release glucose gradually instead of spiking your blood sugar. But what really sets the tomato apart is lycopene, that red pigment that gives it its color. Lycopene acts like a tireless firefighter, putting out the fires of chronic inflammation that diabetes quietly sets in your blood vessels, nerves, and organs. I saw this firsthand with a patient named Dave, 69, over in San Antonio. High cholesterol, high glucose. He ditched the store-bought sauces and started making his own tomato sauce at home. No added sugar, just olive oil and spices. 3 months later, he felt lighter, less fatigued after meals, and his lab work showed real improvement. Here's a practical tip. Lycopene is absorbed better when tomatoes are cooked. That's why I always recommend stews, sauces, and soups over raw tomatoes. Sometimes tradition has more science in it than we realize. Number 5, carrots. I hear this one all the time. Doc, carrots are too sweet, they'll spike my sugar. Let me set the record straight. That idea is a myth. Yes, carrots taste naturally sweet, but their glycemic index is low and their fiber content means glucose is released slowly and safely. What makes carrots essential for diabetic men is their high beta-carotene content, a precursor to vitamin A. This vitamin is critical for eye health, and let's not forget, diabetes is one of the leading causes of preventable blindness worldwide. When I talk about prevention, I'm not just talking about numbers on a lab report. I'm talking about protecting your ability to read a book, recognize your grandkid's face, or walk confidently at night. I remember Mr. Howard, 71, from Austin. He came in because his vision was getting blurry and he was stumbling easily. We introduced carrots into his regular diet alongside other medical measures. Within a few months, his vision improved enough to read the newspaper without straining. Eat them raw in salads, grated as a side, or cooked in stews. The key is consistency without fear. Number 4, avocado. If there's one food that deserves the title of green treasure for diabetic men, it's avocado. Avocado is an extraordinary source of monounsaturated fats, the good fats that improve insulin sensitivity. In plain English, avocado helps your insulin work better, opening the door of your cells more easily so glucose can get in and be used as energy. Robert, 68, here in Houston, had been avoiding all fats because he thought they'd make his diabetes worse. I explained that not all fats are equal and that half an avocado a day could be his best ally. 3 months later, his bad cholesterol dropped, his good cholesterol went up, his glucose was more stable, and most importantly, he felt more confident about eating. "Doc, I'm actually enjoying my guacamole again without feeling guilty," he told me. Avocado's high fiber also slows sugar absorption and prevents post-meal glucose spikes. Half an avocado a day is enough? Put it on toast, in salads, or on the side. You'll feel the difference within weeks. Number 3, spinach. This is one of the most complete greens on the planet. Low in carbs, high in fiber, ideal for keeping glucose levels steady. But the real game changer here is magnesium. This mineral is fundamental in regulating insulin and glucose metabolism. Numerous studies have shown that people with low magnesium levels have higher insulin resistance. By adding spinach to your daily diet, you naturally improve that sensitivity, making it easier for your body to process glucose. Ray, 67, up in Oklahoma, was dealing with tingling in his feet, early-stage neuropathy. I recommended he increase his spinach intake in salads, soups, and green smoothies. 3 months later, he came back smiling. The tingling had decreased, and he was walking with more confidence. Spinach also provides potassium for blood pressure regulation and alpha-lipoic acid, a powerful antioxidant that protects nerves and reduces oxidative stress. Toss it in a morning smoothie. Saute it with garlic or fold it into an omelet. Every serving is an opportunity to strengthen your body. Number 2, Brussels sprouts. I know, I can already hear the groans. "Doc, those things are bitter." No way. I get it, but cooked the right way, Brussels sprouts can become a delicious dish and a genuine medicine. Their fiber slows carbohydrate absorption and prevents post-meal glucose spikes. But what truly makes them special is their alpha-lipoic acid content, ALA, an antioxidant with a unique ability to penetrate nerve cells. For men already dealing with neuropathy, that burning, tingling, or numbness in hands and feet, ALA can be a real lifesaver. Walter, 72, down in Beaumont, told me he couldn't sleep at night because it felt like thousands of ants were crawling over his feet. I recommended roasting Brussels sprouts in the oven with olive oil, garlic, and rosemary. A few weeks later, he came back with tears of relief. "Doc, for the first time in years, I slept without pain." That wasn't magic. That was science applied through a vegetable he'd dismissed his entire life. Brussels sprouts are also rich in vitamin C and vitamin K, strengthen your immune system, and contain sulfur compounds that improve insulin sensitivity and help your liver detoxify. Roast them, saute them with a little bacon, or caramelize them with balsamic vinegar. Give them a chance. And now number 1, the king of the list, broccoli. I call it the green king because few vegetables can match the sheer concentration of benefits packed into one head. The star compound here is sulforaphane, a sulfur-based substance that acts as a silent warrior against insulin resistance and chronic inflammation. And the science backs this up. A study published in Science Translational Medicine found that broccoli extract reduced fasting glucose levels by about 10% in patients with type 2 diabetes. That percentage is comparable to some oral medications like metformin. When I share that fact, most of my patients look at me in disbelief. So broccoli is basically a natural drug? Exactly. With the advantage of zero side effects. Ed, 67, right here in Houston, had hated broccoli since he was a kid, said it was tasteless and the sight of it alone made him want to walk the other way. But his wife decided to try a broccoli cream soup with a little fresh cheese. Ed was stunned. Doc, I never thought something that simple could taste that good. He started having it 3 times a week. After 6 months, his tests showed clear improvements in glucose, blood pressure, and lipid profile. But beyond the numbers, what moved me most was hearing him say, "I've got more energy to play with my grandkids." Broccoli delivers sulforaphane, vitamin C, fiber, calcium, and potassium. It protects your vision, strengthens your cardiovascular system, and boosts immunity. Steam it, saute it with olive oil, top it with a little cheese, or toss it in a warm salad. Its versatility is endless. Now, before I wrap up, I need to be honest with you. Not every vegetable is harmless if you eat it without thinking. Peas, for example, are sweet and tasty, but they contain a significant amount of starch. A handful is fine, but devouring a full plate can spike your glucose. Winter squash, like butternut, provides vitamins and antioxidants, but is also high in carbs. If you eat it, keep the portions small and always pair it with protein or healthy fat. Parsnips, similar to carrots but starchier, also require moderation. Corn is deeply rooted in American cooking, from cornbread to grits to tortillas, and I respect that tradition. But its glycemic index is high, so choose your portions wisely and go for whole grain versions when you can. And potatoes, probably the most controversial one. Their high glycemic index causes rapid blood sugar spikes, but I don't believe in banning them completely. Preparation matters. A baked potato paired with a salad and some avocado doesn't hit the same as a pile of French fries. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Every single one of these vegetables is available at your local grocery store. None of them require a special trip or a special budget. The real power in managing your diabetes isn't locked behind expensive supplements or complicated meal plans. It's in the produce aisle, waiting for you to pick it up and put it on your plate. Start with 1 or 2 from this list. Add them consistently. Pay attention to how you feel after a few weeks. I think you'll be surprised. And if you found this helpful, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment below telling me which vegetable you're going to try first. If you want a practical guide with recipes and detailed instructions, just type the number 1 in the comments. Sometimes one small step, one click, one comment, that's all it takes to start a real change. Your health isn't some far-off destination. It's the sum of the choices you make right now. And today, you just made a good one by showing up here.